everybody, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. I hope everyone got some awesome gifts, are able to be with your families and be happy during this holiday season. I don't really do the presents thing, but I ate a lot of awesome food, so check out my Instagram for pictures of that. Anyway, a few days ago, there was a story out of the UK about a barber who woke up following a car crash and was able to speak fluent French. He obviously could not speak French before, else the story would be just horrible. It would be like, oh, French guy wakes up from coma speaking fluent French. Like, who cares? Oh, and also he thought he was Matthew McConaughey. So I saw this story and I remember that there were other stories like this that I've seen over the years, and I wanted to share some of those with you guys. 25-year-old Rory Curtis suffered horrific injuries after his vehicle hit a semi-truck before 6 other cars plowed into the side of his car. Firefighters battled to free him from the wreckage for 40 minutes and then airlifted him to a hospital. Doctors found that he had suffered a brain hemorrhage, which meant his blood vessels had burst and blood was leaking into his brain. Rory remained in a coma at Birmingham's Queen Elizabeth Hospital for 6 days while medics battled around the clock to save his life. When he finally came around, Rory started speaking to nurses in fluent French with perfect French accent, despite not studying the language since grade 9. Oh, also in his head, he had convinced himself that he was Hollywood actor Matthew McConaughey. Rory said, "I don't remember coming around, but my family said one of the nurses was from Africa and spoke French, and I was having conversations with her. I was just casually chatting away about how I was feeling in this perfect French accent. And then I was sitting there spouting a foreign language from my hospital bed, acting all French in their sort of arrogant yet sophisticated way." Rory's parents were also stunned when they got to the hospital and the nurse asked them what side of the family was French, which of course none were. It also took Rory some time to realize that he was indeed not Matthew McConaughey, but that was pretty easy to realize once he looks into a mirror. Rory made a recovery and was allowed home just 2 months after the accident in August of 2012, and he was able to retain his ability to speak French. Next, an Australian man wakes up from a coma speaking fluent Mandarin Chinese. Ben McMahon's parents were overjoyed when their son woke up after a week in a coma, but they were shocked when they learned he could no longer speak English. Ben McMahon stated in fluent Mandarin, of course, "I kind of slowly came out of the coma and then set eyes upon an Asian-looking nurse, and then the first thing that came was natural was to come out and say in Chinese, 'Excuse me, nurse, I feel really sore here.'" In 2012, Ben was the passenger in a car accident that left him in a coma. Doctors told his parents it would be a miracle if he survived. Thankfully, he did survive, but he woke up kind of a different person. Growing up, Ben had studied both French and Chinese but could never speak the language fluently until after the coma. Ben regained his ability to speak English but also retained his newfound skills with Mandarin Chinese. Now fully recovered, Ben lives in Shanghai running Mandarin walking tours, hosting TV shows, and attending school. I just want to say that's a big double standard. If a white guy speaks fluent Chinese, everyone's like, "Oh my god, that's amazing, here's a TV show." Asian guy speaking fluent English, no one cares. Next, in 2010, a Croatian teenager woke up from a coma to find she could no longer speak in her native Croatian, but was fluent in German, a language she had just started to study in school. Following a mysterious 24-hour coma, the 13-year-old girl has been able to understand Croatian, but she can only respond in German and requires a translator to communicate with her family. I give you guys 3, but there are many cases like this all around the world. This phenomenon is known as foreign language syndrome, which occurs after a serious accident or injury to the brain renders victims unconscious. When the patients come around, they find themselves talking in completely different languages that they weren't able to speak prior to the incident. Now, I've always had a theory about this phenomenon, actually a couple of theories. One is that these people are simply recalling skills they had in previous lives. Makes sense for me because I believe in reincarnation. I believe that we've been reincarnated all around the world in different cultures, speaking different languages. I mean, think about it. Let's say you were a Chinese person in a past life. Then maybe it wouldn't be strange to be able to recall a language that you've used for an entire lifetime. Also, the concept of people remembering past lives is not something new. It has been many cases of this all around the world. Now, my other theory is, and by the way, these these theories are not mutually exclusive, my other theory is that our minds are so powerful, we can actually recall everything that we see and hear, and we are able to process and obtain that information for ourselves. For example, if you watched TV shows in other languages, although you don't understand it on the surface, your mind does understand it and is able to retain it maybe subconsciously. And then something happens and maybe that part of your mind becomes unlocked. You're now able to have access to that particular skill set. Also, I can explain the Matthew McConaughey thing. Every guy wants to be Matthew McConaughey. There you go. Case closed. Also, I'm not trying to downplay the seriousness of car accidents and comas. If you or someone you know went through something like that, I'm sorry, it's a horrible thing. But I struggled learning another language. I had to take a foreign language requirement to be able to graduate from college. So naturally, I took Chinese 101. And if that's not clear, I'm actually fluent in Chinese before Chinese 101. And sometimes looking at these people in cases like this, I'm like, would I go through a coma to be able to be fluent in another language? I don't know. I'm thinking maybe I would. I mean, I don't want to be in a car accident or be in any sort of a life-threatening situation. So I guess if you could guarantee that I would come out of the coma okay, and that I wouldn't be in a coma for like 10 years, then yeah, sign me up. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for all your support this year. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays to you. Looking forward to sharing more awesome videos with you guys. See you later.